call this Board of Education meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I move we approve the agenda with the following amendment. Additional certified and classified personnel actions, item 3.
There's a motion to approve the agenda with an amendment. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Tim. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I don't have any public comments. Dr. Carlin will be addressing us on
KJ is going to introduce some folks.
KJ.
Lots of book. I'm going to pass the buck a little bit. One of the things we're going to talk about tonight is workers' comp, which I know sounds like a really fun topic. But when I tell you that it costs us about $500,000 a year to have workers' comp insurance, all of a sudden it makes the topic kind of a little bit more interesting, at least from my perspective. So we have quite a few people here tonight that are going to share with you how they've had an impact on our workers' comp. And Melinda Rowland, I'm going to put her on the hot seat. She has been in charge of our workers' comp and kind of spearheading all of our activities and our safety committee for, what, last 10 years or so? Am I pretty close?
With these guys, since 2011, but about 10 years doing workers' comp.
Okay,
For me.
so she is going to have all the fun for the next few minutes with you.
Good evening. I'm Melinda Rowland. I'm the benefit specialist for the district, and part of my job is workers' comp. I've been doing the workers' comp for like 10 years with an accident fund since 2011, and believe me, a big change from when I did it before. These people have been great. I've learned a lot, things I didn't even know I knew. So I kind of joke around telling people it's not my favorite part of the job, but somebody has to do it. But with our numbers now, I'm glad I am doing it because I have a great committee, and I just want to introduce them. We meet about every quarter. They come to see us. I take Justin to all the schools. We look around, things that we never did before. So we're just getting the bug in people's hair how important it is about safety. I know I kind of joke about it. I look at people's shoes when it's bad weather, but we're serious about safety, and I'm glad that I do this job. People appreciate me all the time. I'm happy, but I do it for the district. And like I said, we have such a great committee. I do want to introduce who we have, and if you're here, please stand up. Chris Carr. I don't think she's missed a meeting, so I appreciate Chris. She always has good questions. Rhea Carter is not here. Mr. Cobby, he's my other little right hand. I appreciate him. Tracy Johnson, food service. Doug Keller is our rep. Ken Kerr, another good person on the committee, and KJ. And Juan Lozoya, he does a great job at the high school, and he's really, he tells me everything, so I really appreciate him. Joanne Manigan. Valerie Raymond had to leave a little bit early, but she's great. Mark Ron, myself. Janet Smith. And Charles Stillian, he's new to the group because the new director, so he hasn't really quite got into it yet, but he will, trust me. And Polly Witt, there she is. Right on time. I can't tell you how I'm so happy with those nurses. They are great. They keep me in tune with everything on time. They make sure everything is done right, and I do appreciate Polly's ladies. They are a tremendous help. And without them, I couldn't do my job. So I really appreciate all the nurses that help. They're just on task. So I think that's a lot for the district. So I really appreciate all these people. I couldn't do it without them. So with that said, I'll introduce Doug, I guess. Thank you.
Thank you, Melinda. Good evening. Before I get started, I just wanted to introduce Sean Myers with the camera there. He's with us. Kelly Whipple and Kathy Evans. She works day to day with the school district, primarily with KJ on claims, and Melinda on claims that we have, incidents that occurred, in the district. So, just briefly before I introduce the gentleman from Accident Fund, I just wanted to give you some perspective on where we've been and where we're going. back in 2011, I had the opportunity to present a insurance work comp program to the district that not only involved insurance, but also a program that brought in a accident group, safety group, and where we met regularly and do meet regularly today to help improve or communicate the culture of safety in the district. And so really the goal every day when we come to work is for our employees to come to work safe and go home safe. I mean, that's our primary role each and every day. And when you look at a school district, when you have 1,300 employees or so, there's a lot of different exposures from janitorial to transportation, teachers, whatever it may be, coaches, PE teachers. There's just a lot of things going on each and every day at each one of our locations. So when we presented this concept to the school, our goal was to come in, put together a safety program, work on bringing down what we call the experience mod. And the experience mod at the end of the day is kind of like how we grade our students in school. You know, the higher the experience mod, the more premium you pay with work comp. So in this particular situation, back in 2011, when we got started, the experience mod was up to 1.32, which means that for every dollar that you're paying 32% more. So it's $1.32. So today, the experience mod for the school district is a 0.88. And so you look at that in the last 5 years, our experience mod has gone from a 1.32 to a 0.88. That's a 44% savings on the experience mod, just on the way the premium's calculated, which is awesome. And so really the concept here is to sit down quarterly, look at what the incidents have been, the work comp claim, what the exposures have been, talk to those folks that are out in the field every day, teaching to their classes and to their employees, sitting down, talking about ways that we can improve safety. And that's why the safety program works so well here, is because we can sit down and get a front-hand experience from what's going on. And so it's been my pleasure to work with the school, because when we started basically with nothing. We didn't have a program whatsoever. So today we're just celebrating our 5th year, and things are really looking positive for the school. So at this time, I want to introduce a couple gentlemen that work directly with us on the safety program. They're both with Accident Fund, and Richard. And Richard's been working with us since we started, 2011.
Yeah.
Justin, I think, has been with us the last 12 months now.
Yeah.
So at this point, I'm going to let these guys
We
take
love
over.
charts. Can you grab that one chart there? We love charts. Yeah, this one right here. So you see these are highly technical. When we were looking at our successes as to how did we posed this to the safety committee earlier today, how did we get to where we're at today? What's number one up there? Melinda. We could not do this alone. We can't be outsiders affecting change in any employer's workplace without help. It can't happen. And she has been phenomenal to work with and to affect that change for the positive. And when we look at what else how else did we get here? Well, training, we've tried to, that's a lot of it right there. I mean, if you're going to improve that behavior, Justin and I both are safety geeks. This is what we do, we're degreed in. But how are you maintaining that mindset of working safe every day? Doesn't come easy in a school district. If I was a manufacturing plant, they get it. A construction company, they get it. School districts are a little tougher, and you folks get it. Training, and when I say adult here, is that it's a very different mindset. Adults learn through experience, and we had to bring that mindset to the staff here. Culture, that's a lot of it. That whole mindset that it's going to, I didn't see that was somebody else, or it's not my problem. That culture that's gone. It's a whole different culture here now. Awareness and value, individual and team effort. Couldn't do it alone. There's no doubt about it. And it really all stems back to again, we're providing our expertise and our knowledge, but it really has to be affected by the folks in this room and the other 1,275 employees out that do their jobs, do it well, do it safely every day. Justin and I see what happens when that doesn't go well. And
Absolutely.
it's
No, and to touch on what Richard was saying, this isn't something that just, oh, accident fund's here, everything's gonna be all better now, and our mod's gonna drop next year, and everything is all hunky-dory. This is a process. This is, all those items on that list, it's planting that seed, changing that culture within an organization, which is really the toughest part of what we do. It's not, here, you can have this program or that program or this template or that template, but until everybody buys in, it's really nothing. It's just words on paper until everybody is on board with what you're doing. So on that note, I think we're going to call KJ back up here. No? Melinda? Melinda, I think you're the most deserving of this, so if you want to come on up.
How about my group of people?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's great.
We're clapping.
Can we step under the light maybe a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, on behalf of Accident Fund Insurance Company and Keller Leopold Insurance, we would like to present this award to the district for their outstanding achievements, for their dedication. Melinda's done so much. Really impressed. It was really easy just to come in here and she took the reins. I mean, I'm coming from Kansas City, so there's only so many times I can come out here, but she's day in, day out, taking care of business. So, Melinda?
Well, thank you. Thank you. I mean, my job is to save money for the district, and I really work hard at this, and so does the employees, so I really appreciate everybody. So, thank you. Thank my committee and KJ. So, thanks a lot.
Outstanding job.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
Our experience mod value, is that affected only on utilization, or the fact that we have a safety program in place, does that lower it, or what?
Well, you're seeing the benefits of that through
Right. I
the
didn't know
lowering the
if it was-
mod.
If it was secondary to that, or if it was directly related to our utilization, or if
Absolutely.
just because we have a program in place, we're eligible for a.
No, it's utilization, it's claims.
Okay.
It's, in our line of work, it's called losses. I mean, other than the medical providers, there's not a lot of benefit to anyone, particularly the injured employee. So the more that you drop that, not only the frequency and severity, you lower claims costs, and that's what it translates into, lower mod, and that's part of how your premium's priced. So you're seeing the benefits of those efforts of these folks here and everybody else out there.
So when a new employee comes to the district, is there a program to go through them on safety and?
I talk with every single one of them, so.
Awesome. And we only have a short period of time when claims can be addressed or brought to their supervisor and processed. Is that correct? So
Yeah,
timeliness
like I
is
said,
really
the
important.
nurses are great, so usually I get it within a couple days or the day, so I don't have a lot that's late, so.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, committee, too. Joanne, I didn't see any correspondence. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move we approve the consent agenda as
There's a motion to approve the consent agenda as previously amended. Is there a second? Second by Gloria. All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Who will be doing the facilities committee update? KJ, are you back up?
I'm back up. As part of the third board initiative, which is efficiency, safety, and infrastructure, underneath that is board goal 7, which talks about improving the operational processes to be efficient, supportive, and cost effective. Those are all things I love. One of the things involved in that is resurrecting the long range facilities committee. It's my understanding, hey, I'll move that off. look at it. It's my understanding that we had a long-range facilities committee in place years prior to the bond offering, and then when the high school started coming on board and that all got going, that kind of was set aside for a little bit so that we could focus on the infrastructure that we were putting in place at that time. In response to the board goal, and then also just because it's time to put it back in place, we have reformed that committee, and there was some information in this, so you may know it's made up of 11 committee members. We have 1 board member, 5 community members, 3 building principals, so we have an elementary, a middle, and a high school, so all levels are represented. Chuck Cobby's on that committee, and then myself. And kind of just going to give you an update of what we've been working on and kind of what we're laying out for the near future. The first thing that we're working on is kind of a timeline, putting together a big master schedule of what types of maintenance needs do the current infrastructure, what are they going to need over the next 5, 10 years, start laying out that plan so that we can also communicate that with the principals. Everyone has a rotation for carpeting. We kind of know how old the HVAC units are. We know those probably going to need to be replaced. Of course, nothing's set in stone because the electrical equipment's going to have a mind of its own on when it's going to decide to be done. But it will at least give us kind of a timeline to where we can prioritize and we can plan not only financially, but with our employees or their staff time, how we can lay out how we're going to get these processes put into place over the next 5, 10 years. One of the other things that we're working on is an energy performance contracting. It's a state program where public entities can pay for energy efficient upgrades through future savings, and those savings are actually guaranteed. So the vendors that we work with will put a proposal together. They will come in and do a deep dive audit on all of our buildings once one is selected. And they will basically tell us if you do these certain things, it will cost this amount of money, and these are the guaranteed savings that you will see over a certain time frame. And then over that certain time frame, they have a way of calculating, did we receive those savings? And to the extent we don't receive those savings, they cut us a check. To the extent we exceed those savings, good for us, we get to keep that difference. So it's a way to kind of help pay for some of those big ticket items, but know that we're going to have some cost savings that will help us pay for that. We are currently working with 2 vendors that are approved on the state contract. Chuck's not in here. I think they looked at 5 buildings. Each of them, we had them look at 5 buildings, the same 5 buildings, and they are going to come and give their proposals to us later this month. Based on those proposals, we're still kind of up in the air. We might go with one group to do the whole thing, or we might somehow split it out to where they each get a little bit of something as we move forward in this bigger piece of what we want to do. We are hoping to have the beginnings of that whole process and hopefully implement some of those recommendations by the summer. So if we're all on track, by the summer we should be able to start implementing and saving money based on their recommendations. The third thing that we've been working on is a bit more immediate in nature, and it's the football and soccer field over at Memorial Stadium. That field has been tested, and the artificial turf has been deemed not safe to play on, or not safe for athletic use. So we have not held any competitive sports, any practices on that field for, I believe, a couple months now.
At least.
At least, okay. Chuck, I'm glad Chuck came back. Now you can look at my pretty little schedule. Actually, it's not even mine. This is Chuck's. I just added color. And I'm going to walk you through this. Chuck, please feel free to interject at any time when I don't get something quite right.
Could you guys elaborate a little bit more on what you mean by not safe? Is it due to concussion, like there's not enough padding for head injuries?
Yes, there's a test they run called G-Max testing, and they drop a ball a certain distance and how much it bounces back. You get a rating, and anything above 100 on that test fails. There is some talk about them even lowering that, but right now that's 100. They tested in, I think they said 11 places. Ours, they tested 13 places, and we failed at about 5. You only have to fail in one spot. So that has to do with the amount of rubber that's in it and the amount of fiber that's in the turf. Our fiber has wore off, broke off, whatever. Lifespan, right now the warranties on them are about 7 or 8 years. This is about 12 years. And the fibers are, I believe it's polyethylene or polypropylene, whichever poly it is. And this one is a combination of nylon. The nylon, lets it last longer, but the nylon type are a lot more expensive. But the plastic is, most plastic, when the sun gets on it, UV rays and age, it gets a little more brittle and they break off. So now they start out at 2 inches, ours is down to probably an inch or less, so we can't add any more rubber because it won't hold it. So.
Okay, thank you. Chuck put this schedule together, and I'm going to kind of walk through, it was in a big spreadsheet when you had it last week, but I'll kind of break it down into pieces. What this looks at is the first 10 years of what it would cost if we were to convert Memorial Stadium back to a grass field. And I think it's important, it's probably easiest to start at the bottom here. This is what it would cost for us to add the sprinkler system. There currently obviously isn't one in place with the turf field over there. That'd be about $75,000. Chuck, what's all involved in the base?
The base, it has rock in it now. There's 6 inches of rock, and we'd have to remove that and bring dirt in and to prepare for the sod on top of that.
And so that's a pretty significant cost at about $100,000, and then to add the sod would be $50,000. So our upfront cost to put it to grass would be about $227,000. In addition to that, we would have maintenance costs every year of about $37,000. The items that he's included in here are the water. We've put water at $12,000 a year, so there is no adjustment for any future price increases. We don't currently have a well over there, so we would be paying for our water. Fertilizers, field paint. Every time you mow the grass, you've got to repaint the lines, so there'll be a cost for that material. And then seed, to reseed spots within the grass. One thing that he has not included, is additional sod, and there probably would be times where sections might have to be resodded depending on how torn up the field gets. Is that correct?
There could be.
Okay.
When it was the high school field, there were times they had the sod part of it, but since it's not a high school and college is not on it, we think we could probably keep up with it with seed.
So those are all the materials. The labor that would be involved would of course be the mowing. We would have irrigation maintenance. The green waste is, I assume, getting rid of the grass clippings and things like that. Okay. Maintenance, fuel, and then actual maintenance to do the field striping. And so those are about $37,000 a year. So if you go all the way to the far left, you can see that at the end of the first 10 years, we would have about $595,000 wrapped up in converting the field back to a grass field. So let's look at the first 10 years of a turf field. And I've left the cumulative cost up there for the grass just so you can kind of have a comparison. But we'll start at the bottom again. The turf is going to cost us about $330,000. Now this would not be replacing all of the turf. They call them the D zones. They look like Ds on the ends of the track, so to speak. Those don't need to be replaced right now, and we also don't need a new base, correct? So this would just be the turf over the main playing field. And this price is for a basic, no field, what's the word I'm looking for? Mascot, no logos. It's just your generic green field. It's going to have soccer and football markings on it. So very generic. That would cost us $330,000. The maintenance on the artificial turf would run about $3,000 to $4,000 a year. The only difference being every other year when we have to do that GMAX testing, which is what Chuck talked about earlier. The field needs to be swept 40 times a year, so almost every week during normal times that it would be used. And that would cost about $80. So the $3,200 is how we get the actual cost of the maintenance for the turf field. So go all the way over to the right-hand side on this one, and you're coming up with $365,000 is what it would cost us after year 10 to move this, to keep this at a turf field. The difference between the $595 and the $365 is at the end of 10 years, we will have spent, we estimate, $230,000 less by keeping it at a turf field. And so we just took those out another 10 years to kind of see what that would do. This is, again, is looking at grass. I've left the first 10 years over there for you. You've got the $595. At the end of the second 10 years, you'll have a total of $965,000. Again, the costs stay the same. We haven't accounted for any increases in labor costs or any increases in water costs. And then we'll compare that to the second 10 years of turf. Now, as Chuck said before, about a 10-year cycle for turf. So at the end of that 10 years, we'll probably have to do something again with the turf. This time it's going to be a little bit more expensive because we are going to have to do the D zones at the end, and it will need a new base, correct?
No,
Okay.
no, not the
Not a new base? Okay, just the D
D
zones?
D zones as well.
So that's going to be $420,000 as opposed to the $330 that we think it would cost us now. But again, if you spread that out, at the end of 20 years, you'll be at $821,000 if we keep it at turf, and you're at $965 for grass, so you still have $145,000 in savings or less spending if you were to keep it at a turf field. Any questions on the Mammoth worksheet?
With a 10-year warranty?
Pardon?
That comes with a 10-year warranty?
I think it's 7 years, 7 or 8.
Is that negotiable?
I don't think so.
Just out of curiosity, with the UV effects on the plastics, is there any practices out there to try to extend the life of that? Like
No. The only thing that you get longer life on is a lot more expensive one that's made out of nylon. And they didn't tell me, but that's typically not what's put in. Most of the ones that are done throughout this whole state or this region that AstroTurf works with this is a little bit cheaper. If we were doing a college or high school field, that we probably might want to look at something a little more expensive, but this is kind of the economy model. But it doesn't change the lifespan all that much.
Is this similar to what we did at the new high school, or did we put some of that higher grade stuff on?
This is going to be, I think the one at the high school is a better quality. It has more of a grass look to it. This is going to look more like what we have now at Memorial.
Safety-wise, how does this, you talk about grass versus the turf, which for the players on the field, did they talk about that at all?
I don't know whether they do any kind of a G-Max testing on grass. You know, you could run that risk of the grass getting compacted and dry, and you probably could have some of the same. I think maybe the grass is probably a little less likely. You probably have more of a chance of injury for bigger players than you do middle school or younger players falling and hitting. But then there again, you have to question whether they can sustain it as well as the older person. I don't know what all those are. One other thing we haven't put a price on this was, we were also told, we have a synthetic track that's around there. That's another thing that's got about a 7-8 year lifespan on. Ours is in pretty good shape. We've done some repair work on it, but that'll be constant maintenance. But if we put in a sprinkler system, that'll add a lot more water onto that track, and that'll probably shorten the life of that track too. So your sprinkler system will overflow and wind blow on it, so we don't have that issue with the turf because we don't water anything, so.
Your estimates for turf, is that consistent with the costs over there at KH?
For maintaining it?
Yeah, the turf.
This is more than maintaining the grass at KH. That's on a water well, so we have no, other than the electricity for the well, we don't have that. This will probably be higher for the painting, because usually nobody in the city uses KH field for other soccer and football things, but Memorial is used. We went on a 40-week period from spring till fall because there's a lot of soccer and different football things going on there a longer period of time. But they both, the mowing will be about the same for both of them, and fertilizing and so forth. This one probably is a little higher on grass seed and all the others, simply because it gets more use. It's going to take a little more than what KH does. Because they're not even practicing on it right now. They just basically play on it, and that's 3 or 4 games at most.
Can you tell me how many games you played on this field each year? Football, soccer, baseball, whatever they play on. How many activities are on that field?
We don't have those figures. We didn't get it from Horace Good. They should have a rental agreement from whoever comes and plays, but I know through the spring and the fall, there's somebody on there Saturday and Sunday, almost every weekend.
In practicing, right? There's not a scheduled game, there'd be practices on it.
Yeah, the field itself would practice during the football season, and probably during soccer too, so.
Yeah, I'd be curious to know how many games are actually played on that versus KH and the, what's the other stadium? What is it? Yeah, just so I know those numbers.
We could definitely talk with Brad and get that information for you. I think the Y uses it for their football program.
That was my next question. Who all uses it besides the Y?
I'm not sure if the rec does or not. I think that was a question we had open. Do you know? Do you think they do?
I
Okay.
think they do.
Okay. And one of the things that has been discussed, and there hasn't been a plan to move forward any further than just discussing it at this point, but one of the plans that or one of the ideas that has been discussed is the possibility of using this field as a middle school field for both middle schools. They could alternate their games so that when one is playing at home, the other is playing away, and vice versa, so that they could both utilize the facilities that we would have at this location.
And going back to Mark's question about how you guys came up with the maintenance costs with water, mowing, the water, are you basing those off of what you use at KH, or how did you come up with those figures?
I received this format, but it was for a university field, some university, and my figures are less than half of what theirs are. And I also looked at what rain we get, and we figured an inch of water per week on top of what we might or might not get. And
You're talking Garden City, right?
Kansas.
I don't know, no, right
so
now.
basically, you better figure on not getting any, and then go from there. It's kind of the way we looked at it. But that's figured on an inch of water during those 40 weeks, is the way we calculated the water on it.
Because the field at KH is the same size as this one, right?
Yes.
I mean, same 100-yard football field, right?
Yes.
One thing-
The labor, the mowing, all the painting is from experience from what times the guys spend and how much we spent on paint for painting a field and those kinds of things. And fertilizer was kind of a guess. The cost of aerating and all that, we hire somebody to come in and do the devariation, and so that's a figure that's, we pay out on a yearly basis for each field, so. We didn't have a good dollar figure just for seed specifically for that field. But seed and fertilizer are the two it's kind of more of a guess on the amount of area and how much we'd have to do.
And when we put in this field 10 years ago, right, was the school the only one that paid for that, or was it the Y, the city and college? Were they
College,
participants?
City,
in college? College, city, Y, us. Put something in on it.
I have to talk to those folks again. I mean,
I have.
surely you have?
Yeah. The college doesn't use the field any longer, so I don't think there'd be an interest there. I have talked to the Y, and I haven't heard back officially from the Y. I asked the Y to consider helping with part of the cost, and gave them an idea of what the approximate cost would be, but I tried again to check with Mr. Knight over there today. I think he's out of town, so, but I haven't heard back from him specifically whether they would be able to do anything.
But when we put this in 10 years ago, we knew that we would need to replace it 10 years.
Yeah, and actually, it's been 11 or 12.
I think we're
Closer to
12 years. Yeah.
Has it been that long?
Yeah, I think when I looked up on the records, it was 94, what? 2004
Jill?
was the date of the contract, the year they finished it. So it's 12 years. But I looked back, I couldn't find the original warranty, but I found the original form paperwork, and it was a 8-year warranty back then.
Is this using the same company again?
Yes.
One of the things you touched on water, and I don't know if you fully went the whole distance on that. Chuck mentioned the significant investment we have in the track at Memorial Stadium, and it's my understanding that if we were to convert the field to grass and water it, the considerable amount of water that we would have that would run off onto that track could possibly shorten the lifespan of the track that we have, just from all that additional water coming off. So that was also one thing that the Long Range Facility Committee discussed when they reviewed this. Their recommendation after reviewing this was to move forward with recommending to the board that you go ahead and you replace the turf at Memorial Field based on this information. A lot of the things that we talk about in this room, we talk about efficiency, and normally we don't talk about efficiency in terms of dollars. And we kind of all argue that that's not how you should. But in this situation, I think it's probably reasonable to say efficiency is what's the least amount that I can spend and still have a good product. And based on these numbers, the least amount we can spend would be to replace the turf. Oh yes, sorry. That's an important piece. One of the ways, well, $300,000, either way, we can use bond money to facilitate this purchase. We do have about $300,000 remaining in our bond fund, which does need to be spent. It does have limited use of what we can spend it on. So this would actually be an opportunity for us to utilize the remainder of those funds for something that is needed, and something that obviously is going to be a big ticket item. So.
Your comments about water, you're not planning on wasting water, are you?
I would hope not. Never.
If you will control the wind, the days we watered, then.
If we can find a way to capture the runoff, we will do that.